Juan Severino Mallari's story begins in the serene fields and old churches of Pampanga, but behind the calm exterior of colonial-era life was a quiet tension that shaped the man he became. Born in the late 1700s, Mallari grew up during a period where the line between faith and superstition was blurry. Many people believed in omens, curses, spirits, and rituals, ideas that lived alongside Catholic teaching. For a young man already inclined toward isolation and introspection, this mixture created a fertile ground for dangerous beliefs. As a youth, Mallari showed strong devotion and academic promise. He entered religious training early, impressing his teachers with his discipline and quiet nature. But within his family, something else was happening. Historical records describe a long period during which Mallari's mother suffered from a mysterious condition, one he believed was supernatural in origin. While others saw illness, he saw a curse, and he became obsessed with the idea that unseen forces were attacking his family. This obsession followed him as he became a priest and was assigned to the parish of Magalang in 1816. At first, the town welcomed him warmly. Mallari was attentive, considerate, and committed to his duties. His sermons were heartfelt. He visited homes, gave blessings, comforted the sick, and became a respected figure almost immediately. But it was during these pastoral visits and quiet walks through the rural outskirts of town that his thoughts began to darken. The belief that his mother was cursed consumed him. He began to interpret ordinary misfortunes, wilting crops, sudden illnesses, arguments in the village, as signs that the curse was spreading. He believed he had to intervene, and that intervention required sacrifice. According to court documents and later retellings, Mallari developed a private ritualistic logic. He believed that taking a life could balance or counteract the curse. The victims weren't chosen at random, yet there was no personal resentment toward them. In his delusion, he saw them as necessary offerings, people whose deaths would redirect the curse away from his mother. Mallari used his position to move freely without raising suspicion. Priests were trusted. They had reasons to walk through fields, visit isolated homes, or travel between towns. And so he learned to identify people who were alone. Farmers heading home after sunset, laborers walking back from distant fields, travelers spending the night outdoors instead of inside a crowded inn. In a time with no streetlights, no rapid communication, and minimal law enforcement, such people were tragically vulnerable. Eyewitness accounts and later investigations suggest that Mallari approached victims with calm familiarity. He might greet them politely, as any priest would. He could ask about their day, offer a blessing, or stop to chat. This disarmed them. No one expected danger from someone wearing clerical clothing. Mallari relied on this trust. He didn't need force or threats to get close. Bystanders later reported seeing him walking beside people shortly before they disappeared. Once he isolated a victim, Mallari carried out the murders in ways that left little noise and did not draw attention. No gunshots, no alarm, just swift, silent acts that would not be easily noticed in the open countryside. What matters for our understanding is not the graphic nature of the attacks, but the strategy behind them. He acted quickly, quietly, and with enough planning that most victims were discovered only hours or days later, with no clear culprit. Mallari's behavior after the murders was equally disturbing. He often returned to the parish as though nothing had happened, continuing his duties with composure. He would conduct mass the next morning, hear confessions, or deliver blessings. The same priest offering compassion could have killed someone the night before. This ability to compartmentalize his actions is one of the reasons he evaded suspicion for so long. As the pattern continued, some locals grew uneasy. They noticed that Mallari often appeared in the same areas where victims were later discovered. Others observed him wandering at odd hours, sometimes far outside the usual boundaries of his parish routes. Survivors of attempted attacks described being approached by someone who seemed familiar, or dressed in a way that resembled church attire. Still, in a deeply religious town under Spanish authority, pointing a finger at a priest was nearly unimaginable. Many people feared punishment, while others simply couldn't accept the idea that a man of God could commit such acts. And so for nearly a decade, the deaths continued unchecked. By the mid-1820s, however, colonial authorities could no longer ignore the growing number of unexplained killings. Mallari's deteriorating mental state made the situation impossible to dismiss. Witnesses described him speaking obsessively about curses, evil forces, and the idea that someone was trying to destroy his family. His sermons became erratic, and he appeared distracted even during Mass. His arrest finally came when testimonies, survivor accounts, and patterns of movement aligned against him. Once interrogated, Mallari confessed, not with fear, but with conviction. He claimed he had been performing necessary acts to protect his mother from the curse afflicting her. In his mind, every death had a purpose. The colonial court faced a dilemma unheard of at the time. A Filipino priest confessing to dozens of ritualized killings. Was he insane? Was he evil? Or was he simply lost in a world where superstition and faith were deeply entangled? Mental illness was poorly understood in the early 19th century. The idea of delusion or psychosis wasn't recognized in the way we understand it today. So when Mallari spoke of curses and supernatural dangers, the court interpreted it literally. They judged the action, not the condition. He was declared fully responsible. His execution by hanging in 1840 brought an end to the official record of his crimes, but not the fear and confusion they left behind. Today, the story of Juan Severino Mallari has taken on a near mythic quality in Magalang. Some residents talk about the spirits of the victims lingering in the fields. Others believe the church he served in still carries an air of heaviness or remorse. Historians continue to debate whether he killed exactly 57 people, or whether the real number could have been higher, or even slightly exaggerated over time. But whatever the precise count, the impact of his actions remains undeniable. Mallari's story raises uncomfortable questions about belief, power, and the human mind. How does someone so trusted, so respected, fall into a delusion so deep it justifies unspeakable acts? How did a community fail to see the danger growing in their midst? And perhaps most haunting of all, could it happen again? Nearly 2 centuries later, Juan Severino Mallari stands as one of the most unsettling figures in Philippine history. A reminder that the darkest deeds sometimes come from the places we least expect.